First contact, the warning. The sky above Earth was quiet. No storms, no clouds, just stars shining peacefully. But then, without warning, something strange appeared. 3 giant ships in the sky. They were not made by humans. They didn't belong to any country. The world changed in a moment. People ran into the streets staring up. News spread fast. "Aliens are here," the headline said. Cameras showed the ships hovering over major cities, New York, Beijing, London, and more. Everyone watched, scared, but excited. The aliens called themselves the Zarketh. They sent a message in perfect English. "We come in peace. We want friendship. We offer knowledge." Many people were happy. They cheered, thinking this was a new beginning. The Zarketh looked tall and smooth with blue skin and golden eyes. They wore white robes and spoke calmly. They smiled all the time. Too much, maybe, but not everyone trusted them. Dr. Elena Park, a scientist working with the United Nations Space Agency, watched the Zarketh carefully. She had studied alien signals for years. She had seen this kind of message before. Not from the Zarketh, but from other worlds that had vanished. Something felt wrong. At a world meeting in Geneva, the Zarketh leader, Ambassador Zeltor, stood tall and smiled. "We bring no weapons," he said. "Only peace. Earth has much to learn. We will guide you." Dr. Park stood and spoke loudly in front of the world's leaders. "Earth is not a child," she said, "and we do not need guides. We welcome peace, but we have seen tricks before. If you plan to fool us, I promise, we will not stay silent." The room became quiet. Ambassador Zeltor smiled wider. "You threaten us?" he asked. Dr. Park shook her head. "No, I warn you. Do not mistake human kindness for weakness." The aliens laughed. It was not a small laugh. It was loud and echoing, like a performance. Their golden eyes sparkled as if this was all a game. One of them leaned close to a microphone and said, "You cry, you bleed, you fall. You are soft. You could not harm us if you tried." The humans in the room looked at each other. Some were angry. Some were afraid. A few were still hoping this was a joke. The Zarketh ships stayed in the skies for the next few days. They began scanning Earth, oceans, cities, even military bases. They said it was for peaceful research. But power systems began to fail. Satellites stopped working. Communications were jammed in parts of Europe and Asia. Dr. Park worked with her team deep in an underground lab. She studied the Zarkeths, scanning patterns and decoded a hidden signal. It was not peaceful. It was a command. Phase 1. Begin invasion. Her blood ran cold. She called an emergency meeting with the world leaders. "They're not here to help," she said. "This is just the start. They plan to take everything. Earth is just another name on their list." Some leaders believed her. Others didn't. President Alan Gray of the United States spoke up. "Even if you're right, what can we do? Their technology is beyond anything we've seen." Dr. Park looked at him. "Then we must use the one thing they don't have, our will to fight." Meanwhile, in a small town in Australia, something strange happened. The town was called Willow Ridge. It was quiet, peaceful, with farms and old roads. One night, the town's lights flickered. Then, silence. When rescue teams arrived in the morning, there was nothing. No people, no houses, no animals, no signs of a fight. Everything was gone, clean, like it had been erased. Dr. Park watched the satellite images in shock. This is how they begin. Quiet, clean, fast. The Zarketh made no statement about the missing town, but the message was clear. They had laughed at Earth's warning. They had shown their true face. Now, it was Earth's turn to answer. Mockery turns to malice. The birds stopped flying. That morning, something strange happened across Earth. Animals froze. Dogs barked at the sky. In the deep forest of Canada, a hunter watched deer collapse without wounds. In the oceans, whales swam in tight circles as if lost. Something had changed. and the Earth felt it first. Above, the Zarketh ships were no longer just watching. They were doing something. Dr. Elena Park stood in the underground lab, staring at the latest signal from the alien mothership. The data was full of pulses, short bursts of energy too fast for satellites to catch. "This isn't scanning," she whispered. "They're testing something." All around the world, strange problems began. Airports lost contact with control towers. Military drones crashed mid-air. Power plants flickered, then died. At first, the Zarketh claimed it was Earth's old machines failing. They smiled in front of cameras and offered to fix the problem. But in secret, a group of engineers in Germany noticed a pattern. Every blackout happened near a Zarketh hover drone. One by one, Earth systems were being turned off, like lights in a hallway before a monster appears. Back in her lab, Dr. Park called an emergency meeting. "This is not an accident," she said. "They are testing our defenses slowly, quietly. If we don't act now, we'll be blind and deaf before the real strike." President Gray and a few allied leaders gave her full control of a secret protocol, Shadow Net, a backup communication system buried deep under the Earth, but it might be too late. That night it happened again. Another place vanished. This time it was Maribor, a small city in Slovenia. A peaceful city with families, schools, and music. Gone. No damage. No bodies. Just empty land where buildings once stood. Satellite images showed the sky above Maribor glowing blue before everything disappeared. Dr. Park studied the recordings. Her voice trembled. "They're wiping places off the map. Not with bombs. With tech we don't understand." One of her assistants, a young engineer named Kellen, pointed to something strange in the sky image. A black triangle hovering just above the light. "That's not one of their ships," he said. "That's something new. It didn't glow. It didn't move. It simply watched." At the United Nations, Ambassador Zeltor gave a speech, smiling as always. "We are sad to see humans suffer from your old machines," he said. "Perhaps it is time to let us help, more directly." But this time, there was no applause. The world had seen enough. People stopped smiling at the aliens. Protests began. Some threw stones at Zarketh drones. In some places, angry mobs tried to attack them. The Zarketh didn't fight back. They didn't need to. They were already inside Earth systems. In a secret chamber below Switzerland, Dr. Park opened an old steel door. Inside was a room with blinking lights and old computers. Kellen looked confused. "What is this place?" Dr. Park replied. "This is where we built Project Ironheart." "What's that?" She turned to him, serious. "It's not just a weapon, it's a reminder. We knew one day someone might try this, and we built something to answer them." Outside, the Zarketh leader stood inside his mothership, watching Earth's panic on 100 screens. He laughed, but this time, the laugh sounded nervous. Humanity's hidden fangs. They thought Earth was done. But deep below Iceland's frozen ground, something old opened its eyes. Not a machine, not a man. Something in between. The world above was breaking. City by city, the Zarketh made Earth feel smaller and weaker. Governments argued, satellites stayed dark. Power grids flickered like dying candles. People began to panic. Some tried to run to the countryside, others just gave up. But under the ice, beneath a glacier that no satellite could see, Project Ironheart came online. Inside the command bunker, Dr. Elena Park stood in front of a screen that hadn't lit up in 10 years. The screen showed only 2 words, "Systems armed." Kellen, the young engineer beside her, looked amazed. "What is this place?" Dr. Park replied. "A secret Earth has kept, even from its own leaders. A defense built after the first alien signal we picked up 20 years ago. No one believed it back then," she added. "But we prepared anyway." Above the bunker, a metal door opened slowly. A tower rose from the ground, sleek, black, and silent. Around the world, other towers just like it came alive. There were 20 in total. Each one held a weapon humans had never used before. Plasma, Coils, gravity bombs, AI-guided railguns, weapons never shown, never tested in public. The Zarketh noticed. Their calm, mocking tone changed. Ambassador Zeltor stood inside his mothership, staring at the towers appearing on Earth's surface. "What are they doing?" one of his commanders asked. Zeltor didn't answer. For the first time, he felt something alien to his kind: uncertainty. In the skies above Asia, 3 Zarketh cruisers moved toward one of the towers. They fired beams of energy to destroy it. Before it could fully rise, too late. The tower's defense system activated. A single shot, silent, invisible, hit all 3 ships. The ships didn't explode. They simply stopped, fell from the sky like stones. Earth's people saw it live on broadcast, Zarketh ships crashing, for the first time. The world watched and cheered. Humanity wasn't powerless. They were just hiding their claws. Dr. Park received a message from deep space. A Zarketh commander had been captured by a joint Earth strike team in low orbit. He was injured but alive. The message from him was short. "This isn't how your kind is supposed to fight." Dr. Park responded with a single line. "You thought we were soft. You forgot what made us survive this long." Back at the bunker, the AI inside Project Ironheart spoke for the first time. It sounded human but colder. "Targets locked. Defensive protocol complete. Offensive protocol. Ready." Kellen looked at Dr. Park. "Are we really going to take the fight to them?" She nodded. "We warned them once." They laughed. She turned to the control panel and pressed a button marked, "Activate Phase 2. The fall of Hope. No stars were seen that night. Only one large shadow, growing larger behind the moon. At first, astronomers thought it was an asteroid, but it didn't spin. It didn't drift. It moved like it had purpose. Earth's telescopes zoomed, and what they saw wasn't a rock. It had veins. It had metal. It had a heartbeat. Dr. Elena Park stood frozen in front of the screen. The object behind the moon was almost as large as New York City. "What is that?" Kellen asked, barely breathing. The AI of Project Ironheart answered coldly. "Biomech class Zarketh Titan. Name, Nemeroth. Status, active." Across the world, all Zarketh forces suddenly pulled back. Their ships vanished into orbit. Their ground units shut down. Earth thought they were retreating. They weren't. They were making space for something worse. At exactly 02 Auber AM GMT, Nemeroth moved. It didn't fly. It drifted like a moon, yet with speed. It passed the International Space Station and tore it apart without touching it. A pulse of energy, silent and blue, hit Earth's upper sky. Satellites melted. Space sensors went dark. Then, Nemeroth spoke. Not in words, in feelings. People across the planet, millions, felt it in their minds. Dread, weight, the sense that nothing could stop what was coming. In Brazil, buildings cracked. In Tokyo, glass shattered. Birds crashed midair. Children cried without knowing why. Even animals ran from the forest, screaming in terror. Dr. Park gripped the edge of the console. This isn't just a weapon. It's alive." The AI replied, "Correct. Nemeroth is a memory eater. It erases cities, minds, even time. This is what they use to wipe other planets." Project Ironheart launched everything. All towers fired in sync. Beams of energy, nuclear rounds, railgun bursts. They hit Nemeroth head-on, and nothing happened. The beams vanished in its skin like light sinking into water. In Geneva, the last world leaders gathered underground. President Gray stood in the war room watching in silence. Dr. Park's voice came through the monitor. "We've hit it with everything. It's still coming." The president asked, "Then what's left?" Park answered, "Something we buried. Something we hoped to never use." The camera turned. Behind her was a vault. Big, dark, untouched for 40 years. Words were printed on it. Protocol 0. Protocol 0, Earth's true weapon. The vault didn't open with a key. It opened with a pulse, like a dying star's final breath. All lights in the bunker shut off. Even Project Ironheart's systems froze for 4 full seconds. The AI whispered, "It remembers." Inside the vault wasn't a bomb, not a ship, not even a machine. It was him, a man, or something that once was. Codename, Kane. Eyes closed, skin like cooled metal. Wires in his spine. Heart not beating, but still alive. He had been sealed for decades, not for protection, but for fear. Dr. Elena Park stood before the chamber. Kellen stared at the frozen figure inside. "This is your plan?" he asked, shocked. "He's one of us?" Park shook her head. "No. He used to be." In the year 2081, Earth began a project to merge human will with alien tech recovered from a crash. Kane was the first success, and the last. He didn't just think like a human. He learned like a machine. He fought like both. He defeated every weapon Earth tested on him. Then he asked, "What do I fight next?" When the answer was nothing, he tried to fight himself. That's when they locked him away. But now, Earth needed something worse than Nemeroth. So they gave Nemeroth something to fear. Dr. Park placed her hand on the final switch. "You told the Zarketh we were soft," she whispered. She pulled it. Kane opened his eyes. No glow, no sound, only a cold stare, and a whisper that came from every screen on Earth at once. "What do I kill?" At that moment, Nemeroth changed course. It had no face, but it seemed confused. Kane rose from the chamber. He didn't wear armor. He was the weapon. Metal grew from his back. Heat gathered in the room. Lights blinked and died around him. Gravity bent under his steps. Kane walked to the screen and saw Nemeroth's shape moving toward Earth. He smiled. Above Earth, the clouds parted. Kane launched straight up. No suit, no ship, just fire. Nemeroth began charging its energy pulse. Kane reached, at first one punch, soundless in space, but Earth shook like it had been hit by a second moon. Nemeroth didn't break, but it flinched. Project Ironheart's AI spoke. "Direct hit. Result, damage unknown. Emotional reading. Nemeroth is afraid." Kellen whispered, "It can feel fear?" Park replied, "Now it can." Inside the monster inside Nemeroth, there were no walls. Only flesh that pulsed like a breathing cave, and metal that grew like bone. Kane walked through it, silent, calm, like death with a human face. The monster tried to stop him. Black tendrils came from the walls, sharp, fast, alive. Kane didn't dodge. He let them hit. They melted on contact. On Earth, the world watched through Kane's neural stream. Millions of screens lit up with his vision. Blurry, red-tinted, alive. People saw what no human ever should. They saw the inside of a god-killer. Nemeroth wasn't a machine. It was a living weapon grown by the Zarketh across centuries. It fed on memory, on identity, on fear. And Kane. Kane had none of those left. Far above Earth, the Zarketh Council screamed in panic. "He's inside. Shut the system down. Pull back the core. Erase the entry sequence." Nothing worked. Kane walked deeper. The walls began to scream, not in sound but in frequency. Thousands of voices whispered through Earth's networks. "Leave. He must not reach the heart. You do not understand what he is." In a control room on Earth, Dr. Park stared at the monitors. Readings were spiking beyond known limits. Kane's neural levels, they're climbing. Kellen asked. "What does that mean?" Park whispered. "He's waking up more than we built. The human part is gone. What's left is something the Zarketh can't calculate." Kane reached a chamber at the center of Nemeroth. A sphere hovered there, glowing, pulsing. The core mind. The thing that connected every Zarketh ship, every drone, every soldier. If it broke, so would they. The core spoke, not with words. It showed Kane a vision, Earth burning, cities falling, a future where the Zarketh ruled. Kane blinked once and said quietly, "That future is dead. Then, he reached toward the core. The Zarketh made one last move, a final defense. A virus, coated in light, struck Kane's mind. It attacked every memory he had, his past, his pain, his purpose. But Kane was ready. His memories weren't his weapon. His emptiness was. Where the virus searched for weakness, it found nothing. Kane placed his hand on the core, and then it stopped pulsing. On Earth, all Zarketh ships froze in the sky. Their lights dimmed. Their systems dropped. A Zarketh general, watching from orbit, whispered in fear. He didn't kill the core. He became it. Cliffhanger for Part 7. Finale. Kane speaks again, this time across all Zarketh channels. You wanted to control Earth. Now Earth controls you. And with one thought, he turns every Zarketh weapon back toward their own empire. The last message. The stars blinked, one by one. Not because they died, but because Kane turned the Zarketh ships away from them. He was no longer just inside Nemeroth. He was Nemeroth. Far across the galaxy in the Zarketh homeworld, sirens howled in a language made of static and screams. Millions of Zarketh looked to the sky as their own warships, once symbols of pride, now floated above their cities, waiting, listening, for a voice. Then it came. From every screen, every crystal, every telepathic link, a human voice, clear, cold, unmistakable. This is Earth, you were warned. Back on Earth, silence filled the command center. Dr. Park, Kellen, and the others watched as the data confirmed it. All Zarketh systems offline. Fleet AI rewritten. Kane, everywhere. Kellen asked, "Is he coming back?" Park didn't answer. She simply stared at the stars. In space, Kane, now part flesh, part code, part vengeance, hovered above the Zarketh world. They begged, offered peace, surrender, data, worlds. Kane sent one final message, not to the Zarketh, but to Earth. You were weak once. That weakness made you kind. But you learned. You built me. Now let me do what you could not. And then he gave the Zarketh a choice. Leave Earth forever, or be turned to silence. The Zarketh chose silence. Kane obeyed. In seconds, 14 moons shattered. The sky above their world turned black, and every ship that once laughed at Earth fell. Back on Earth, the night sky glowed. But it wasn't fire. It was peace, a quiet that felt heavy. Final. For the first time in centuries, the stars were safe. Not because of diplomacy, not because of mercy, but because humanity fought back, and the galaxy would remember. The aliens laughed at human tears. They mocked human fear, but they forgot one truth. Humans don't break. They adapt. They build. They warn. And if ignored, they end wars. Kane never returned. But Earth didn't need him anymore. Because now, the galaxy listens when humans speak.